Welcome back everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about chain wear tools. These little things here. Why you need one, how to use it, loads of different types available, and which one's going to be the best for you. So let's crack on. So yeah, there's loads of different types of these tools. So we'll just go through some various different ones I've got here to show you and show you how to use them. So first one, part tool CC 3.2. Very common tool. Probably a lot of people have got this one. It's got a two limits on here, 0.75 and 0.5. I'll show you what that means and the condition of your chain, what it's telling you. So being part tool, obviously you'd expect this to be very high quality and very precise. So let's give this one a go shortly. Next up is a Pedro's chain checker. Pedro's chain checker does exactly the same thing basically, but it does it in a slightly different way. You've got two little hooks here to hook into the chain here, and puts the chain under some tension between the rollers, gives you a more accurate reading. So we're okay, 0.5 and again 0.75 is your limits here. These two bits here, they're for a different job altogether. I'll show you what that does. Next one is a part tool rip-off again. It's a 2-pre. I quite like these tools, but I've got a couple of these, and it'll be very interesting to see if they both give the same reading. So all you do with this is drop these two pins in the chain and turn this gently until it stops, and take the reading through the window as to the percentage of chain wear that you've got. Again, 0.25 to 0.5 is a new chain. They're telling you to replace it over 1. I've not used this one myself. This is a Shimano one. People really highly recommend this, a CM42, so I'm going to be very interested in this one myself, really, to be fair, the results of this. I may actually end up changing to one of these tools through this test, but I'll show you first which one I use. So this is the one I used in workshop daily, the Junior 1643. So it's a great little tool. Again, it has two pins, and you basically turn this dial here, and you take a reading off here. It can be a bit tricky to read, but I'll show you exactly what this does and why this is my tool of choice currently. Like I say, at the end of this video, I might change my mind. But I've been using this for a couple of years. It's a very solid workshop tool. Pretty expensive, obviously, as well, because it is workshop quality. But I do find it very easy to use, and there's basically no way of sort of frigging these results, which you will find with the other ones. You can potentially force a false result, which you don't get on this one. I'll show you. This one, obviously a copy of the part tool one. This is from AliExpress. I think this costs probably about 50 pence. I bought a load of these with the intention of giving these free to customers to maintain their sort of chain wear checks and improve the maintenance of their bikes. However, the one that I did try was wildly inaccurate, so I'll stop giving them out, obviously, but we are going to measure it up today and see if it's just a one-off or if these are actually any use, because I say they're so cheap, there's no reason why not to own one of these. Next up is this SRAM one. It's specifically designed for SRAM flat top chains, so I will show you how to use this. Again, it's got two bits here. You squeeze on the chain and drop it in. So this is specifically for them, but we'll take the results off a normal chain as well as flat top chain. See how well this performs. But again, it's pretty expensive for what it is, just a stamped piece of metal. But the importance of these things is the accuracy. You must be able to trust the accuracy of the results that you're getting from this. So we'll go through this one, zoom out to fit this one in. Part tool CC 4.2. Again, very similar design to the SRAM and the Pedro's, where you put in the chain under tension first and then drop it in. I know this is a go-to for a lot of people. I've not used it myself. Again, I purchased this for this test. The range of size is 0.5, 0.75 and 1. So we'll drop that in at the end. That's that piece there. Next up is another Junior 1644. It's been in my mobile toolkit for several years. I've never used it. It's a 0.2, 0.5, 0.75 and a 1. So we'll have a look at this, see how well this performs. But a very basic tool. Again, being Junior, you'd expect it to be very high quality. They do make fantastic tools. There's another no-name one. It's actually stamped on this one. Whereas the other no-name one didn't even have any markings stamped on it. So this is kind of an upgrade from the 50p one, which is probably £1, £2. See how well this goes. I've had this for years. This one's identical to the 2-pre one that we've already looked at. Exactly the same tool. So it'd be interesting to see the comparison of the results between the two. The ZTTO and the 2-pre. So both AliExpress type tools. Both pretty cheap and both obviously blatant copies of the part tool as well. So I don't have the part one to compare, unfortunately. So this one, obviously a rule. I don't use this. I'll tell you why I don't use this, but I will include it for the purpose of the test. The main reason I don't use it is traditionally you would measure that in inches. I'm from the UK. I don't use inches. I couldn't tell you what an 1/8 or a 1/16 if I fell over one. So that's why I don't use them. I use go-no-go tools instead. Well, I'll show you how to use it anyway. And finally, a caliper as well. So we'll use this slightly different method on this one. I'll show you how to use that. Again, I don't use this, and I'll show you exactly why. So we're going to use several different chains in this one at the moment. This is a worn chain, worn within specification, so it's less than 1%, but it was due for replacement, so that's going to be interesting to see. This is a brand new Shimano chain. This is a brand new fake Shimano chain. This is a very worn out flat top chain. And a brand new flat top chain. And we also have this one, which is way over 1%. I've just got it out of the scrap bin, to be fair, just for the part of this test. I've just put it on a bit of a fake bike here. This is a scrap bike. Just hooked up a hub, just to keep the chain under tension, because when you're measuring this, you need to keep the chain under some tension. Right, so we're going to go through and measure this chain. You measure the chain on the top where it's under slightly more tension. It's best practice. And you should also measure it at sort of 3 or 4 places as well. So let's make a start on this one. So this is the Junior. Like I say, this is the one I use all day, every day. And it lives on the work stand itself on these 2 little magnets. So set this to 0. It doesn't make much difference on this chain because it's so worn out, but set it to 0 on the gauge. Drop it in between 2 pins. Don't use the quick link. All you do is resting that in there and turn this cam until it stops. This is not going to stop because it's massively worn out. So if you're getting something off the scale like this, you know you need a new chain. This goes up to 1%, which is there, and you can feel that rattling. This must be about 1.5% or something crazy like that. It's totally toast. So the problem with wearing out your chain to this level is you're going to take the cassette with it. So rather than sort of 20, 30, 40 pound chain, you're going to end up with a new cassette as well, which can range from anywhere between 20 and 200 pound depending on your bikes. So that's why it's essential to keep on top of chain wear, because you want to be replacing the chain way before you're taking the cassette with it. Generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, you should get 3 chains to 1 cassette. And that's what I recommend to customers. So if I get a bike that comes into the workshop and it's over 1% wear, or pretty much touching 1% wear, I'm going to automatically recommend to the customer we fit in a new cassette as well. Because the only thing that's going to happen, the customer is going to take the bike away, they're going to come back the next day screaming and shouting at me saying the gears are skipping and jumping under load, because the cassette's worn out, because the chain's worn out. So if you've gone to 1% or above, change the cassette. Right, let's have a look at the next tool. I'm not going to measure this in 3 places because I know this chain is absolutely toast. So part tool CC 4.2, so the idea of this is you put the 2 pieces of chain behind here, and then you squeeze this piece of chain here to put it under some tension, and then drop this piece down the other end of the chain. So with the chain wear, it stops on one of these steps here and tells you how worn it is. But we know this is totally gone. That's way past its 1% mark. If it sits flat like this in the chain, you're too late. Again, on the 2-pre, drop it in between the pins, and you spin this round. Unsurprisingly, it's off the scale. And it rattles the same as the Junior, so that's a promising start. ZTTO, Zito, I don't know if it's got an I in there, or is it DT? I don't know. ZTTO, I believe. Again, off the scale. Right, cheap rubbish one off AliExpress. It doesn't even fit in there particularly very well. Right, according to this tool, this chain's absolutely perfectly okay to reuse. It's not dropping down, doesn't fit particularly well in there. And according to this, you've still got some limit. However, there's no limit stamped on this because this could be 2 for all we know. Let's turn it over and try the other side. Yeah, it's not the best. Both sides say this chain's okay. Not good. So Junior, we'll use the 1% scale, which is this side. So we know it's there. Again, hook that in and it drops straight down flat. Good. Pedro is very similar. Hook it into 2 of these. Squeeze it there and drop it in. Unsurprisingly, gone. Slightly less cheap one with a 1 marking on it. Accurate. Good. Part tool CC 3.2. Again, we're going to use the 1%, which is, there isn't a 1%, it's 0.75. Obviously it fails that. Shram flat top measurer, let's have a look. Replace at 0.8% chain wear, obviously for flat tops. So you hook it in the 2 pins there, squeeze it, and yeah, that's showing it's totally gone. Good. So the interesting one for me is the Shimano one. I've been looking forward to trying this one. So basically you squeeze these in here first. It very clearly says just drop it in with no pressure, don't force it in. And that's why I like the Junior one, because with most of these you can sort of force a fake result. So let's clip this in, make sure both the pins go through the bottom of there, and then it'll go through. And yeah, it's worn out. So that's not a bad little tool. It'll be interesting to see how this goes on the slightly less worn chain and the new chains. So there's going to be millions of people in the comments, well, maybe not millions, but quite a few people in the comments saying all you need is a rule. And yeah, you're absolutely right, all you need is a rule. But I'll tell you why I don't use it. There's a couple of reasons. Firstly, as I say, chain measurements are traditionally taken in inches. I don't have time to get a calculator and work out fractions of millimetres and inches on a table. Secondly, you need to measure over 24 links to get an accurate result. So you start in the centre of 1 pin here, then you go over 24 links, which should be to the middle of this one here, and it should measure exactly 12 inches. Obviously this chain is worn by 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, 4.5 squares. No idea what that means. I do apologise to the American viewers. However, I'm born and brought up in millimetres and metric systems, so I don't do inches. So that's the reason I don't use it ultimately. When I'm measuring chain wear, the customer comes in, I do a sort of inspection of the bike while the customer's there. And the reason I do it is I grab my Junior, chuck it in there, turn it around, and it's done. I don't need to get this. I mean, look how much chain you've got to get. Some bikes, obviously it's smaller children's bikes or whatever, the chain stage is going to be a lot shorter. You're going to struggle to get 24 links to measure this without fouling on the chain ring or the cassette. Yeah, you can measure it down the bottom, but I don't use it. Yes, you can, and absolutely it's potentially the most accurate way of doing it, but I don't use it. But there's nothing stopping you doing it if you want to do that. That's absolutely fine. So the other way of doing it is using a caliper like this. This is the official Campag version of how to do it. So you count 6 links basically, drop these in, and you're looking for, I think it's 132.6 millimeters, something like that. I don't use this. And I'll show you what. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we drop it in between there and there. 133.68 millimeters. 134.0, 134 point, around about 134 and a half, 133 and a half, 134 millimeters on this one here. So I have no idea what that means. Again, I don't have the time to go and get a calculate all the percentages, etc. I just use a go, no-go tool. Busy workshop. If you guys want to do this at home, perfect. Absolutely no problems. You've got the tool. Probably one of the best ways of doing it. But I don't use it. Very, very rarely see Campag in this workshop. There's 2 specialist workshops within a sort of 10-mile radius that pick up pretty much most of the Campag guys in this area. I see sort of 1 or 2 a year. Very, very few and far between. And that's why I don't have a Campag chain in stock, worn or new, to put into this test. I do apologise. I'm just a workshop, I'm not a shop, so I just carry the most common sort of spares and 12, 13 speed Campag chains that I'm going to use once in 5 years. I'm just going to order them for next day delivery, sorry. So what we'll do now is change this down to a brand new chain, and we'll do the same again. So this is a brand new Shimano HG93 chain, brand new out of the box, genuine Shimano chain from Shimano Distribution UK. So again, the first one we look at is the Junior. Drop this to 0, drop it into there, and then just turn it. Very, very gentle pressure, you don't force it, just until the pin stops. So even on a brand new chain on this tool, you do get a reading. So it'll be interesting to see with the other tools what they show as well, because some of the other tools show a 0.2 reading, and this is showing on around about 0.4, 0.45 on a brand new chain. So let's try something different. This is why I use this tool. Sits here on magnets, customer comes in, bike goes in the stand, go to, measure chain, put it back. So easy, instant. So on the 2-pre, we'll just drop that in. Make sure you're actually on there, because there's different parts of the chain here. You want to be on the centre roller, you don't want to be on the edge where you're measuring it there. It gives you a different result. So you do need to be on the roller. And there, and then just drop that in there. Needs a bit of a push. And then again, just gently pull your lever. Alright, that's not going anywhere. That's a brand new chain, and that is showing 0. Very interesting. Okay, ZTTO, exactly the same tool by the looks of it physically. And that's giving you some very different results there. You see, I can give you some play in there. I can get all sorts of that. I can go from 0 to 0.3%. I'm very, very little effort there. I'm not forcing that at all, but it is giving you readings. There's a lot of slop in there. On the 2-pre one, that wasn't going anywhere. It's absolutely rock solid. So that's why I've not used this tool previously, because you kind of can't trust the results, because there's basically giving you 2 different readings here. Try it in a different part of the chain. You are supposed to measure it in sort of 3 or 4 different places. But again, I can flex up between 2 different sizes, so not much use really. Part tool, obviously we're going to use the 0.5 end brand new chain. Hook it in, drop it down. That's not going in. We know it's not going in because it's a brand new chain. So Pedro is 0.5% minimum. Hook it into the 2 pieces there, put your finger on there, squeeze it against the tool. And again, that's not going in there. Brand new chain, so that's perfectly believable result. Cheapest piece of stamp metal you've ever seen in your life. Says over 1% wear, says the same result as this one. No idea what that's telling me. Saying the chain's good, but it said the totally worn out chain was good as well. So let's go with this one, 0.75. Not going in, so that's saying we're good. Again, on the Junior, we do have a 0.2% reading on this one, so that's what I wanted to try. Let's drop this in here. It won't go down to the 0.2, so again, perfectly plausible result on this one. Quite nice. 4.2, put them on there. Put a little bit of pressure, there's a little picture here. All you do is just gently pinch that, and drop it through the chain. And clearly that's not going through there, as you'd expect. Okay, interesting. On your inches, you've got exactly, on this very low quality rule, 12 inches centre to centre, which is what it should be. Caliper wise, 6 links, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going into here to here. 132.7. Again, there's a bit of leeway how hard you want to push this. So that's giving you 134, 132.5, but I can push that up to 6, 9, 7, 7.2, 7.4. You can do what you want. That's why I don't like using this. Alright, so that's good. So now we're going to put on a worn chain that was changed by my Junior tool as being required to change, but not over 1%. Let's fit that next. So I forgot to show the Shimano one, didn't I? So obviously press that into there, and again, unsurprisingly, brand new chain, it's not dropping in there. So let's go with the next one. Right, so this chain was changed from a bite because it was measured during a service on this Junior gauge and said it was almost pretty much exactly 1, so that's why this chain was changed. It's just ever so slightly below 1, so there was no cassette chains on this, if I remember rightly. I don't know, I've got thousands of scrap chains in there. So let's see how the other ones measure up on this, exactly the same. Drop this in here to pre. And that is showing me, that's coming over to about 0.75, just over 0.75 on this one. Interesting. So let's measure a different part of the chain. Same result, 0.75. What I should also say really is the cleaner your chain, the more accurate your result. Alright, so on these ZTTOs, Zutu, whatever it is, let's drop this in, and pretty much the same result actually, just over 0.75. So on the Park tool, we'd expect it to be over the 0.75, just drop this in here, and interestingly enough, it doesn't go down to 0.75. So this tool is saying this chain is still okay. Measure a couple of different spots. Don't measure the quick link because that wears differently. Again, still okay there. Still okay there. So yeah, according to this tool, this chain's totally fine. Let's go to the 0.5 end. Right, so it's definitely over 0.5 wear, but according to this, it's not over 0.75. Whereas the other tool says it is. Interesting result. So what does Pedro's give us? This is Pedro's. Let's give her this, see what this measures. Again, drop the 2 pins in there. Put a bit of a tension in here, and that's dropping right through there. So according to Pedro's, she's gone. Over 0.75. So it's a different result from the part tool we've just looked at where it says it wasn't 0.75. Pedro's is telling you it definitely is over. Another part tool, let's see if that gives the same result as the other one. So you hook those in there, a little gentle pinch as it shows you on the picture, and just drop it into the end. Let's see what we got. So it only goes down to the first drop. You've got 0.5% wear. Again, it's saying you're not on 0.75% wear on this Park tool gauge. Union is saying you're at 1%. This is saying you're at sort of 0.6%. As the other Park tool did, again, that didn't register 0.75. This one's not registering 0.75, so crazy. SRAM flat top. So hook these in, squeeze it there, drop it down. So we're not quite bottomed out on this one either. You can press this in. So if you do it gently, it's not, but you can force this in. Like I say, that's the problem with some of these chain tools. You can very easily force that to that. Cleaning the chain may be the difference between sort of going there and going there. So make sure you clean your chain first before you do this. But for the purpose of this test, you're still going to see a big variance in tools, obviously. So that's interesting. Alright, so the one I really want to try is this Shimano tool. Drop these pins through again here and drop this in. This is telling you it's worn out. 3 different manufacturers gives you 3 different results. Crazy. So what's the limit on this one? I can't remember. 0.75 I think. So there's no specified limit on the Shimano one. Nothing written on here. It's basically literally a go, no go. So you push it in there, drop it through there, and that's gone. I'm not sure what the limit is. Let me just check the packet. There's no measurement specified on the packet as to what limit that's actually telling you. So we'd presume sort of 0.7, 0.8. The tighter they make that, the more chains they're going to sell. So I'm not going to stand here in front of a customer with the rule of doing this. Just use a go, no go tool. So if you're sitting there in your house and you've got all day, by all means use a rule. I don't use it. 133.2. Again, depends where you put these as well. It's so vague and so open to interpretation. 131. I'll stop there, 133.14, but I can force this, say 133.4 if you want to. And so next we're going to put a very worn flat top chain on. Alright, so SRAM flat top chain, SRAM flat top chains use a different size roller, another standard size. So these are slightly different size, which is why you need a different tool to measure SRAM flat tops. But I'm going to try the rest of the tools on there to see what results we get. So obviously starting with the SRAM specific tool, drop them in, pinch it down. And yeah, way past the 1%. I can feel that rattling around in there. There's still play there, so we know this chain is very, very much dead. Customer had to spend the best part of £110 on a new cassette at the same time because they'd let this chain go so far. Don't do that. So on the unioid, obviously expect it to be over 1%. And it is, it's off the scale, so it's definitely worn. Let's set that to 1. And it's rattling around, so it's way over 1%. 2 pre, let's drop this in. Quite like this tool actually. Again, way over 1%, there's no resistance there at all. Rattling around. So it's a similar sort of result. The TTO, unsurprisingly, the same. Pedro's, clip that in. Yep, the same. So clearly you can use any of these tools to tell you your SRAM flat top chain is completely worn out. But how accurate these are going to be at sort of 0.6, 0.7% wear, it's going to be difficult to say. I do have a new chain we can try, but I don't have one that's sort of semi-worn, unfortunately. So let's have a look. Part tool. Yep. Dead. Little part tool. Dead as well. Shimano, 100% sure this is going to tell you you need a new chain. Yep, unsurprisingly, that's gone. Got a new random cat just walking through the workshop, it's not mine. Crikey. Wow. Yeah, it's a very nice Cannondale bike, but obviously the guys just let the chain go so far. It's a brand new 12-speaker set at the same time. XDR cassette. To be honest, I'm going to stop using this. Save it for the Campag chains when they come in. That's their recommended. I'll put a document on the screen now. That's their recommended way of doing it. Let's put a brand new SRAM flat top on and see what we get with that. So on the brand new SRAM chain, obviously it's saying there's nothing there. However, if you're ham-fisted enough, I can force that through to say there's 1% wear there, but you can feel it taking up the tension there. So it even shows you on the pictures. Don't put any pressure on there, literally just drop it in there. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, don't force it because you're getting a false result then. Basically what it's going to do is, obviously as this chain lengthens, these gaps are getting wider between there, which allows more room for this to drop down, and this is obviously on an angle, so that's how you measure in the wear basically. It's pretty simple. So this will be interesting on the Unior. I say on a brand new Shimano chain it shows sort of 0.4. Brand new flat top chain. I'm sure I can get it in there. Let's go on 0, brand new flat top chain. It goes in and it doesn't turn at all, so that's saying 0 on a brand new flat top chain. So you can see the difference in size between a brand new flat top and a brand new normal chain. This was measuring sort of 0.45 on a brand new Shimano chain, measuring 0 on this SRAM, so a big difference. Can't barely get it out. Do you like Pedro's tools? They make some nice stuff. Again, showing no wear on this one, as expected. Part 2, park on the 0.5er. So they all fit. Again, that's showing that your chain is brand new, which it is. 2 pre, let's go. Quite like this tool, again, mentioned that just before. That won't go in there, that's on 0. I can't get that in there, I could probably physically force it, but that won't go. Again, that just shows you the difference in size of these SRAM rollers. Let's try the ZTTO, see if there's any more tolerance in that. No, neither of these will fit. Quite like this, but I wish it knew. I'm going to have to do a bit of digging on the website to see what this is actually telling me in specification-wise. It's a good idea because the way this is doing it is actually springing these links apart to give you more accurate results, a bit more science behind it, but it's basically springing these rollers apart rather than sort of compressing them together. Apparently gives you a more accurate measurement. Something like that. Obviously this new gigantic part 1 that we've got. Again on the Unior, drop that in at 0.2. It's quite a nice tool. It feels accurate, if that makes sense. Some of the other ones feel a sort of, they're just forged out, they're just pressed out steel. This Unior looks like they've actually put some effort into making it accurate. It's quite a nice little tool. I don't know how much this is, but I don't think it's a great deal. If you're going to get sort of a basic one, I like that one. The tool's so long I have to keep moving the camera. So again, there's no wear on there at all. And the rule, centre of that link to the centre of that link, near enough 12 inches. Not sure how, this is probably the cheapest rule in the world to be fair, but 12 inches. I know I said I wasn't going to use it, but I'm pretty sure you can't even fit these in this gap. They're very, very small. Oh, you can get it in. Okay. 131.6-ish. I did want to get the KMC digital chain measurer for this, but it's just so expensive. It's just ridiculous. And I've read some reviews about it saying people that it's It's not all that, to be fair. So I might get one day because I do like my gadgets and it looks cool. So maybe one day, but it's like 70, 80 pound or something. It's just ridiculous. Right, this last one is a fake SRAM chain, 12-speed Eagle chain. It's definitely 100% fake, believe you me. So let's just go a measurement on this. Brand new SRAM chain. SRAM chain, 0.5 again on the Union. Again, pretty much zero. I can force that to a very, very little amount of wear if I need to, but I'm not going to. It drops in quite nicely. ZTTO. Again, we've got this flex in the ZTTO one. I don't like that. It could be anything there between 0 and 0.3. Shimano, good. SRAM flat top tool. Again, I don't think I would use this for every chain out there. It's got a specific job. It seems to give you an accurate result still, but again, you can easily force that in without too much pressure at all to being basically worn out. You can feel the tension on here when you do that though, so you know you're doing something wrong. Just drop it into there and it stops. 0.5 on this one, nowhere near, so we know this. We obviously it's a new chain. Pedro's is happy, good. And the little baby Unio on the 0.2 gauge here, quite like this. Again, that's saying it's fine. There's just no messing with this, you just drop it in, it gives you an instant result, so quite liking this one. And I've sacked all of these, sorry. People will ask how you can tell if a cassette's worn out, so the easiest way to do that is go for a ride. Put a new chain on it, drop down to these smallest 2 or 3 sprockets here, pull some load on so you're standing out the saddle, and if you're skipping forward under load, your cassette's worn out. That's the easiest way to do it. There are tools available. I do have this roll-off HG checker, which basically you wrap around the sprocket on the smaller sort of sprockets up to a 21 tooth. Put some load on this handle, and then it just drops down there. So the idea of this last link here should have no resistance. You shouldn't feel it catching on any of the teeth. If your cassette's new, this is obviously a brand new cassette, so there's nothing there. On a worn cassette, you would basically feel just some slight contact there on that tooth there. Unfortunately, most of the worn cassettes in the bin have fell to pieces, all do. So on a worn sprocket, the smallest ones here, you would feel some just slight resistance as it catches this tooth here. But like I say, I've had this tool 2 or 3 years. I've used it once or twice. I think it's a bit of a waste of time, but it's sometimes useful if you've got a customer that doesn't believe you need a new cassette. You can put this tool on and it tells you straight away that it's worn. So it can be useful for that, but other than that, I wouldn't recommend buying that. It's a bit of a waste of time. You can also use a caliper as well. You can measure the width of this tooth. I think it's 3.05 is a good tooth. I can't remember, but it is very, very difficult to measure the tip of the tooth because of the profiles. And you can see from here, each tooth profile is slightly different. It's also a bit of a waste of time. Like I say, just go ride the bike. You'll find out straight away. And if you've gone over 1%, you 100% need a new cassette. So I've done some research on the Shimano tool, and the general consensus is this is somewhere between 0.5 and 0.75% wear, but it doesn't appear to be documented anywhere. It's purely a go, no-go gauge, so there's no indication of how worn it is. It's either worn or it's not worn, according to Shimano specifications. So it's a nice little tool, but if you're trying to gauge your wear as sort of 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, you can't do it with this. It's either it works or it doesn't work. So if that's how you want to check your change, go, no go, maybe you've got a fleet of bikes or something like that, you do regular maintenance, then this is a decent option for you. Good. So the all-important question, which one do I recommend out of these? So this, okay, go back to my Unior that I currently use. From this test, it's clear that this is kind of overestimating wear really. So on most tools that are showing sort of 0.7, this is actually showing 0.9. And again, on a new chain, this is actually showing 0.4 wear. Some of the other tools are showing 0.2 or 0 even. So I think, to be honest, I can't calibrate this. There's a little pin on the back. You can't adjust that for calibration. So either continue to use this and bear in mind it does slightly over measure, or change to something different. So I think probably I'm going to go with this, the very basic Unior. It appears to be super accurate. It's very well made. It seems to be very, very precise, with very nice sharp edges on it. Cheapest chips for you guys as well. I think this is like £9 or something like that. So I'll put a link below for the rest of these anyway. But I was really impressed with this. Really, really accurate, dead easy to use. There's no faffing around. It doesn't feel like it's going to flex and give you a different result. It just goes straight in and tells you what it is on the side. Very nice. Also very impressed with sort of 2pre one as well. It was a rock solid 0 on a brand new chain. Unlike the other type of one where you could get a bit of a flex in it, this was a solid 0 brand new chain, so it's going to give you what you need. The body of it is aluminium, so how much it's going to wear, who knows, but how often you can use it. I mean, if it's in a busy workshop and using it 10 times a day, yeah, you might get some wear. If you're using it at home 2 or 3 times a year, it's going to last you for a long, long time. So I'm quite impressed with that. It was very nice. Just final thoughts on chain wear itself. So the general consensus is, depending on how many gears you've got on the bike, basically, sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 speed, you probably get up to about 0.8%, 0.9% wear without changing the cassette. that's genuine how I work in this workshop. I've been doing this for many years. People don't come back saying the gears are slipping at 0.8, 0.9%, even just below 1%, where normally we'll get away with a new chain and they're fine, there's no skipping. Going into the higher gears like 11 and 12, the tolerances are tighter, cassettes are more expensive, so you tend to change them lower, sort of 0.75, which is what these gauges are showing you. So that's the general consensus on sort of chain wear in the industry. It's a bit open to interpretation, but it's up to you guys as well. But I mean, if you're quite happy changing a cassette every time you want to change your chain, don't worry about it. Just keep going until you're skipping, under load, and then change them both. That's the other way of doing it. So I do hope you found that useful. I know it's a bit of a contentious subject of when you should change it, how you should measure it, which tool you should use. I get it, and they all do the same job at the end of the day, so it just depends. In a busy workshop, you're going to find that people are going to use this go-no-go gauges. They're just going to drop straight in. It takes literally a second rather than getting a ruler. I'm not arguing with the ruler, it's a good job. But for speed of use, you can't beat these things here, really, to be fair. But yeah, like I say, it's a bit contentious, but let's not fall out over it, eh? So thanks for watching.